Hi, my name is Jim Shear. I'm a physical therapist. I've been treating CRPS for 12 or 13 years. And one thing we're going to talk about here today is we're going to talk about kind of the way to know when to progress people. And I look at this in terms of light colors. Is this a red light? Is this a yellow light? Is this a green light? One thing before we get started is I am a physical therapist. I'm licensed in the state of California. I'm not your physical therapist, so it's important if you're using this, if you're watching this and you have CRPS, to talk to your medical providers about your condition and whether these techniques or approaches are appropriate for you. Everyone's different. So, I just put you got to know when to hold them, when to walk away, and when to run. We need to know when to push a little harder, when to hold it steady, and when to back off a little bit. And we really only want to take one stair step up or one stair step down. So green light, it's safe to progress the challengers and advance their activity. They've been doing this for a little while. You didn't just introduce this. And the pain either has decreased after the session. That's great. So if we're doing things that are resources and you find that these interventions are actually calming things down, yeah, that's time to do more and to add some challenges if we haven't already. So, if you're finding that relaxation training and breathing and visualizing is helping them a lot and it's calming them down and they're leaving with less pain, well, they need to be doing that all the time. In addition to that, then you need to start adding some touching the hand, touching the foot, or if it's more a motor involvement, maybe doing some mirror therapy, or doing something that just challenges it, which again is very individual with this condition. We could also have this where pain increased for less than 24 hours. Ideally, pain only increased for like 2 or 3 hours after physical therapy. So we're right on track. It's okay to progress them. We do want to kind of stay at one stair step and then go up. So again, don't progress them if you just progressed them last time. But we're right where we want to be, and we're doing well. Kind of a yellow light, we need to pause and stay here for a little while, or we need to add more things to calm the symptoms down. They have increased symptoms that last like 20 to 30 hours. So we're not really going to add more. We may back off, but we're probably just going to kind of hang out there for a little bit. We're not advancing them at this point. They're kind of at the edge of where we want them to be. And we don't really want to go any further than that right now. Another yellow light sign would be you just had a huge breakthrough in activity. And they're dancing now, or they're running now, or they're walking now, and they're standing for 30 seconds. Well, you got them standing for 30 seconds. You got them walking. You got them doing this huge milestone. Just relish and enjoy that for a little bit of time. It's okay for them to stay there for a week and just enjoy that activity, the fact that they're doing that. And you're just going to stick with that for a little bit, because we don't want is they just had this huge breakthrough, we advance them, and then they think, oh, no, they can't ever do that again. So stop and relish those kind of big wins too, and hang out with that activity for a little while. A red light, we need to stay where we are for a while. We probably need to back off a little bit. We need to talk to the patient and address their concerns. And more importantly, we need to listen. So if they're flared up, you got to listen to them. Hey, I know this stinks. I know where you are right now. And this isn't a fun place to be. We need to add more resources. We need to reinforce that, okay, we had a flare up. What did you do to help calm it down? We may need to also add some passive symptom modulators, or other medical interventions to help calm the symptoms down, to keep things going, to kind of expand that therapeutic range. There's very little space to kind of work in with this patient population, at least to begin with. So it's very easy to kind of overshoot that. Just add in a little bit. It's easy to overshoot. It's easy to overshoot. There's often a combination of doing less in some areas of their life and doing more in others. So an example of this is, so often this isn't as straightforward as, oh, we need to push them or we need to hold back. It's often in one area of their life, we need to push them a little further, and in one area, we need to pull them back a little bit. So I had a patient that was terrified of doing exercise and physical therapy, and she would flare up, or she was concerned that she would flare up if we did any exercise at all. And then she would do these jewelry shows, and she would work like 10, 12 hours a day going into the jewelry show and, hunched over, working, making jewelry. And then she'd go stand and work at these jewelry shows for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And she'd unload boxes and she'd unload crates. And, she'd be flared up for days. She had some CRPS in her hands, and she had some upper back and neck pain as well. So this was just too much activity. So in some areas, she was like, oh, I can't do this. I don't want to do anything. And we had to kind of push her, hey, we need to build your tolerance. We need to build your resilience so that when you go do those things, you're not as flared up. And then in other areas, we had to say, hey, you're pushing too far. So it's important to realize that we're often holding them back in some areas and pushing them forward in other areas. Common mistakes. This applies to their daily life as well. So I had a patient with CRPS, a teenager, and I just started bilateral arm CRPS, and a lot of allodynia down both arms. We got him going back to school. And it was really important to me, and I think to him as well, that we got him back to a full day of school before the middle school year ended, because I wanted him to go into high school knowing that he could go through a full day. But during that entire time that he was going to school every day, we were doing a lot less in physical therapy. So they're doing more here. And I had to be like, hey, you don't have as high of exercise tolerance. You're already doing all this activity. So we need to look at their daily life, what they've done that day, and what they're doing in therapy, and kind of combine all that activity. Sometimes the patients are very motivated and they think the best way to go is to push through their pain. This may be a personal belief. This may be something they've been told by another practitioner at another clinic. And then another mistake would be backing off of activity completely when we hit a red light. So, they had horrible, awful pain. I just had treating someone full body CRPS, kind of a different presentation. So allodynia in both arms and both legs, and on the upper back and chest. After I think the inciting injury was a brachial plexus injury. So she fell somehow in such a way that she put some strain and stress on her brachial plexus and strained it, and then ended up with full body CRPS. Well, after she cut herself, we had just started jogging down the hall, and we had built up to jogging down the hall 4 times. And she cut herself shaving, and I said, we're still going to try to jog down the hall 2 times. I'm going to back down from 4 to 2, but I don't want to lose that ground. So we don't want to say, hey, you cut yourself. We're just going to chill out for the next 5 days until it calms down, because it probably it's still actually a week and a half later. It's still a little irritated there, but she's able to keep up with this activity, and we didn't lose that much ground. We also don't want them to, we absolutely don't want to go into bed rest when they go into one of these red lights. So we just want to take 1 or 2 stair steps down to a level that's tolerable, try to maintain that without falling all the way to the floor with their activity level. And that's all I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful. And I hope people are learning a lot. Let me know if you have any suggestions or other things you guys want to go over.